Back on here, I was going to use my new camera, and then last night after our fluke with the I didn't know that my husband was messing with the camera that he got me, and then he started a YouTube public live. So you guys were just sitting there looking at my family room rug, which was just darling, I'm sure. Anyway, after we ended that troubleshooting session, I got back on it over here at my desk because I intended on going live, and I plugged in my microphone. Oh, it's up here. I plugged in my microphone to it. And when I went to play it back, the microphone was muted. So then I tried my husband's microphone, and it too was muted. So I don't know how to use the new camera. I mean, I can use it and just not use the, hey, J.S. Wyman, I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to chat more last night and it didn't happen. So I'm so glad you're here. So anyway, yeah, I can use that camera without the microphone plugged into it, but then even that, I have to have it set up here, and then I have to have my laptop over here because I have to go live in YouTube Studio, which is weird. And then in order to read the chat, like, this is great because I can like see it on my screen. Well, with that camera, I can't see on my screen. I actually have to look over and look at the laptop. So this is just more personal, and this is just how I wanted to do it. But I'm not going to do a long one tonight because we've not had like a busy day. I could not sleep last night. I think that the time change is still messing with me. I could not sleep last night. And then we worked on some stuff around the house. I did laundry and started dishwasher. And then my husband's printing. He's been 3D printing pollen. What do you mean by that, J.S. Wyman? Elaborate, please, pollen. So anyway, he's 3D printing these adapters for the new cameras to go on our scooters, and I rode it up the street, and the video turned out great. I have it on my phone, but right when I pulled back in the driveway, the thing snapped. So he's going to print it instead of this way, he's going to print it this. It's hard to explain, but anyway. It could be, but we just haven't, I don't know. We don't have enough stuff floating in the air yet here. It's still too cold. I think last night's low was 28 degrees. So yeah, I don't think that was it. But we had a huge lunch. I had a big cheat day, and I wouldn't be surprised if kind of overeat. We went to Cracker Barrel. We haven't been to Cracker Barrel in at least a year, and I pigged out. I just love their dumplings and their bread and their sweet tea. I just overdid it. So maybe I was just kind of hopped up because I eat too much food. I don't know. I don't care. It was worth it. At least it was a Saturday night and not like I didn't have any appointments today or nothing to do, so it didn't matter. But I'm going to try and get back on I messed up my routine last night. So I was playing Sims. I'm such a nerd. I actually was building the St. Patrick's Cathedral in Sims last night. I got really sucked in, and then I ended up, my whole night got like, I took my meds late, and blah. That's what I used to do when we were doing Deep Space Astro. The times I'd take my meds late, and then I'd get kind of messed up. So I'll flip it. It'll be fine. The caffeine. I usually throughout the week, I don't have any caffeine, and then I had 2 big sweet teas, like like I hadn't had sweet tea in years. It was fantastic. And I know that we don't have, which Sim 4? Is that what you mean? Sims 4? Yeah, Sims 4. With some of the new extra packs and stuff. Yeah, my church turned out really cool though. I get so nerdy. I get with the build. I would rather build in the game than actually play the game. Like, I have far much more fun building, but it's, it's still kind of a fun thing to do. So, and I don't know if anybody else is going to join us. I did see that Rick, one of my subscribers, he and his wife were on their way to Florida. I wanted to talk to him more about that. And Leo was in here yesterday. And so if you guys pop in and you want to say hi, just hop on in the chat and start talking. But I wanted to ask a question. And I know that since it's just you and I, J.S. Wyman, I want to ask a question. What does the term, we're going to talk a little bit about mental illness here. What does the term mental breakdown mean to you? because I don't go with that term. Like describing what happened to me 10 years ago, I don't describe it as a mental breakdown. And I looked up what the definition of a mental breakdown is, and it's pretty accurate to what I went through, but I feel I just don't associate well with that term. I don't know how else to describe it. The way that I like to describe what happened to me 10 years ago is a mental health crisis, because I was in like crisis, like fight or flight kind of mode. And so I just wondered, can't function normally, whatever that is. And I exactly, and that's similar to what it said online, as far as like it's a major moment where you kind of lose control and you cannot function, you cannot process information properly. I just don't like the term. I don't know. I just don't like the term. I don't know why I just started thinking about that lately, but I don't describe it. I don't describe it as a mental breakdown. I describe it as a mental health crisis. And there's been some stories in the news about people who've had mental health crises that have led them to kill. And I'm just so grateful that my mind didn't lead me there. Sometimes you just can't understand what's going on in other ways behind the what you see. Absolutely, you can't make reasonable and logical decisions. Absolutely not. I mean, I was so confused. I would say that confusion is a huge part of it, right? Or paranoia, like hyper confusion and hyper paranoia and stuff like that. But there's been some things in the news lately, and I wonder if there's some people out there that have a mental health breakdown or crisis or whatever you want to call it, and just completely lose absolute control of their, I don't even know what the word would be. Because like I can't imagine myself ever, like there's a line that even I don't think I would have crossed 10 years ago, if that makes any sense. Like there's a line that I wouldn't have even considered going to. And we're just all so different. And some people just really, they face it in a different way, I guess. I don't know. It's just hard. It's very hard to, but I'm having a good week. I'm having a really good week. My celebratory 10 years. You came up. See, and that's the thing too. I think that's a really good point. J.S. Wyman, you said, I came off my med after 2 weeks and I had really bad thoughts. Oh, good on your wife for knowing that you were headed down a really dark road there. Because I think that too, like, I think that there are some mental illnesses that, okay, we'll just go with bipolar type 1, since I bet it was scary, since I'm bipolar type 1. We'll just go with that for now and just talk about that for a second. So I can have bipolar 1, not be on medication at least 10 years ago, and not go down a direction at all, like a certain path at all. And now today, if I got off my meds, I still don't see me going down that path. But you take the meds out of the scenario, and I do think that mental illness evolves with age, whether it's, it responds to our hormones differently or whatever we're going through differently. And I think that you can start to have, like, I've never even had, gosh, I've got to be careful about what I say on here, right? I've never had thoughts where I intended on hurting myself or others. Like, not intentionally anyway. I mean, I might have been driving when I was in mania 10 years ago and at risk of being in a car accident. But like, therefore I was kind of putting other people at risk. I didn't know I was having mania. It's just such a hard thing. Like I'm a true crime woman. I'm keeping up with some of the craziest stories. One of the ones that I'm following right now is the Lori Vallow case. I'm not going to call her Daybell because that's what she wants. The Lori Vallow case. I'm following that very closely. In fact, the trial begins tomorrow. So, but even watching her, I mean, she's been diagnosed with delusional disorders, and I don't know, watching it helps me like understand other people and the way they respond differently. I don't know, but cumulative stress of life, that was for me, J.S. Wyman, that was me because I was doing too much. And I don't know how long you've been, hanging out. I see you're the only one here. We're just having a one-on-one. I love this. This is great. I don't know how long you've been following my story, but I was doing way too many things. Like I was taking classes at the North Campus. I was taking classes at the South Campus. I was doing I just noticed there's a tag on the bottom of my kitchen table. And that was my parents' table. So that's been there forever. Weird. Sorry. I was doing an internship at our college radio station. I was doing photography jobs. I was doing portraiture work. I was doing all this stuff. I was doing way too many stuff. Same here. I see that. And it really, how long ago did that happen? If you don't mind my asking, how long ago did that catch up with you, or did that breakdown or crisis occur for you? I'm just curious to kind of put it into perspective, where we both are in like relation to one another to a degree. I was doing way too many things. Oh, yours was a lot longer ago than mine was. But I mean, like, do you have what I mentioned in my video the other day? Like, you have this kind of like gratitude for knowing sooner than later, like you've known well-mindedness between then and now that you otherwise wouldn't have. Panic attacks are the absolute, and the anxiety. And I don't know, like, I used to make fun of this commercial. My husband and I made fun of this commercial. It was shortly after I got out of the psych hospital, and we're watching TV, and this commercial comes on, and this woman is by the window, and she's looking out, and it's raining, and she's like, I'm so anxious. Now, I don't mean to be rude, and maybe some people process their anxiety that way, but for me, it was like, oh my God, I am so anxious. Like, like it was so opposite. I wasn't sitting by any windows still and like looking out like dazed and being like, oh, I'm so, because that's not anxiety. That's not the way I process anxiety. I was a mess. I couldn't sit still. I was just crawling in my skin. It's just so hard to describe. And like, even like last night, like not sleeping well. So at like 5:30 this morning, well, when I went to bed, I took a half of a muscle relaxer because that's usually all I need. And then and I was just up, and like I was not up, but I was like, I'm like awake and asleep and awake and asleep. And so finally, and then I had a friend of mine swing by to drop off a key on the way to the airport for me. I'm taking care of, she has a bird. I'm taking care of her bird while she's out of town. So she dropped off a key early this morning on her way to the airport. And I was already awake, so I saw, our house cameras start going off and the lights start sirening and all this stuff. And so I come down, I get the key, I took a second half of a muscle relaxer, and I went back to bed, and I got like 5 hours straight, really good sleep after that. So I woke up at about 10:30. But even though I didn't get enough sleep, and even though I have my issues with I'm still feeling this. I cannot believe, what is it? 6:45, and the sun is just still blaring in here. Like, I'm still having trouble, guys. It's been almost a month since we changed times. You know what? I wonder about that, the moon. You know what's funny? Because I talk to a lot of people say this, the moon affects your mood, and the moon can, whatever phase it's at, or whatever is happening, or if it's clear skies, or if it's cloudy, it's like all of these factors like of nature. I go even farther than that, man. I'm like, maybe Saturn is like tilted weird and like the sounds are like I go to this really weird place with it. I'm not even kidding you because I just feel like it's cosmic. It's like this huge cosmic, like, is Jupiter off this? Or, you know, where are the moons of Jupiter in relation to my house? I don't know. I go to a weird place. But it really, like, sometimes there's no answer, right? So years ago, this was a funny story. This is a great story. So I told my husband, I said, because I had like a headache all day long. And I told my husband, I said, when you get a headache, like, do you wonder why you got a headache? Like, did I not drink enough water? Am I tense? Did I not eat enough food? And he's like, no, sometimes a headache is just a headache. Excuse me. And I was like, yeah, because I always question it. I'm like, what's going on? Is it Shark Week? Am I having like hormones, you know, flare, whatever? And one morning, it was like the very next day, I woke up with a terrible headache. I didn't go to bed with one, but I woke up with one. And my husband was saying good morning to me or whatever. I said, oh, I have a terrible headache. And I looked at him and he got about this close to me and he goes, what'd you do? I mean, I'd just woken up, like, was I not eating enough or drinking enough in my dreams? Like, I don't know what it was, but it's like, you know, you start to question, like, why can't I sleep? Why are my moods weird? Why am I, and I know right now the time change and the daylight savings and that of it is part of the problem as well, but I don't know, it's a little bit tough to, life is hard. Life is hard even when you're clear-minded, but like I was saying about this, like, Lori Vallow case, justice for Charles, I'm all for that, but I look at her and I see kind of like the delusion that she's stuck in, and I haven't been there. I haven't been that way. I've been crazy in my own way. But it's just interesting to watch. And for me, I think part of the reason that I watch it, I really hate to say this, as much as she deserves life in prison and to never see free sunlight anymore or breathe free air, there's a part of me that's like, I'm waiting for her redemption story. Because I myself have had such a huge turnaround. I want that for so many other people who have a struggle or have had a struggle. J.S. Wyman, you don't have to answer if you don't want, and if you're still here, I don't know, but do you feel like what happened in 1997 or thereabouts put you on a path of redemption at all? Like, do you feel that way? Do you still harbor some difficult feelings with that? I'm just curious. Okay, you're still here. Yeah, I'm just curious about that. If that's something that you've thought about, you know, all these years later, because what was 97? 22 years ago? 20? You just worked through it. Yeah, because I think for me, I felt like it was such a dividing line. Like, because after my diagnosis, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about it on here before, but after my diagnosis and after my medication came along and things really started like changing with my perspective and the way that my reality shifted. And so I started looking back even further and seeing how awful I was growing up and teenage years and in my 20s and it's a huge bookmark. That is the perfect way of putting it. It's a bookmark, right? Like, it just marked it's like the dividing line. It's like, that was before, here's after, and here's me now. And yeah, it's a huge bookmark. Thank you for putting that way. That's perfect. Yeah, it's a bookmark because And I feel like, I guess I do feel like for me, it's been kind of a redemption in some ways, because I was able to like point at like an incident that happened in high school with me and my attitude or whatever it was, and say, man, I was way too sensitive. I was way too overreactive. I was a knee jerker, like I was overly sensitive, and I made some big mistakes. And I don't blame all of my mistakes on my mental illness. Don't get me wrong. I don't do that, but it does explain how I got myself into those bad situations with the wrong people to begin with. Like, it doesn't totally take, I know, especially now, I know when something is my fault. Like, I know when I have done the wrong thing or said the wrong thing or this or that or whatever. I know that. And I take accountability for that 100%. But, we're all human. We're all at risk of error. But looking back on some of those things back from when I was growing up, I'm like, well, it would have helped had I had known what was wrong, where the lines in my head were crossed, and to get them uncrossed in my world. So things like that would have helped. But you can only move forward. I think the only thing that those memories are good for are reminders of how to protect ourselves better. It's like when you accidentally burn your hand on the stove, right? It's like you burn your hand, and it was a dumb thing to do, but you don't go around burning your hand all the time anymore. Like, you've learned how to not do that. And so you try. But just a couple of weeks ago, my husband was cooking something, and I didn't know, because he had the wok on the back left burner. I didn't know he had started and then changed his mind. He started on the front right burner, and then he changed his mind. And I don't know this stove very well. I never, I know how to do the basics, but it does have an indicator where it says which one is hot. I didn't know that that's what that meant. Anyway, I was reaching, because I have to reach. I was reaching to put a dish away, and I put my hand right on it. And of course I burned it. So annoying. And it was so stupid. Here I am, old enough to know better, to, not put my hand on a burning hot. It was this finger. It got my ring finger. It was like, it just kind of seared. It never blistered though. I couldn't believe it. It didn't blister. So win for me. But yeah, I guess I've just been reflecting this whole week. I think, let's see, if I was admitted to the psych hospital on the 2nd, and we'll just say I was there for 7 days, I'm pretty sure it may have been 6, but we'll just say 7. Then that means that I didn't get out of the hospital until April 9th. And today, oh, you know what? I took my thing off of here. Today's the 6th. I know that. And so, I've just been reflecting this week. I've just been reflecting on who I am now and how I want to go forward, and the things that I want to do, like to stay well. Playing Sims for 3 hours and not going to bed, or trying to go to bed until like 2:30 in the morning, was not the wisest of choices. But I don't do that every day. And you know what? Yesterday was a cheat day. I had my Cracker Barrel. I had my sweet tea. I had my chicken and dumplings. And so, darn it, I was going to play Sims and just like feed into what I wanted a little bit, because I don't do that very much. I really don't do that very much. And so it's very good to like sometimes do that and just like be lazy and be whatever. And man, I hate that these just keep coming up on my phone. And so it was good to just be lazy around. But I'm not going to do that tonight. I am going to work out. It was funny because I told my husband a little bit ago, I'm like, I'm going to go work out. And then it's like, but I want to do a live. Well, I better do a live before I work out, because after I work out, I kid you not, I'm so sweaty. My hair is like wet and my face is red. I'm like, I need a shower after, and then I'm not going to fix myself back up. So I'm going to go. You have to take care of yourself first. Amen, brother. Amen. Absolutely. And if that means, indulging in some of the things that you just enjoy indulging in once in a while. I mean, I can't remember the last time I sat and played, well, you know what I mean by played, but sat on the computer in Sims for hours and didn't give a care in the world about anything else. I can't remember. It's been maybe 6 months. It was one this year. I think that I contemplated it after surgery, but I was too out of it in surgery. It is okay to say no. You know what? I was thinking about recently, somebody put on, was it on a podcast that they said it, or was it on another social media platform? I can't remember what they said, but they said something like, and I've heard this expression before. I've heard this part of this expression. How does it start? It's like, don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. But then this person that I was listening to or whatever, they added to it. They said, don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm because they will stand and watch you burn. I loved that. That took me back to it was like a year ago. I was talking about my experience and I had this falling out with a friend and I didn't use her real name. If I recall correctly, and I'm pretty sure I recall correctly, I refer to her as Sarah. Her name's not Sarah, but I refer to her as Sarah. And as soon as I heard that part of that quote, they will just stand and watch you burn, I thought of Sarah. I totally thought of Sarah. I thought, yep, that's Sarah. So yes, it is okay to say no, and you do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. It is your response. It's like being on the plane, right? Oxygen mask falls, you put it on yourself first so you can help those around you. And you have to help yourself first. And it's so good to just sometimes just take that time. We've had some pretty nasty weather. The sun is out today. First time in 4 days, and now the moon's getting big. But we were even talking about these new cameras that we got. We might be able to set them up on the telescope for some fun stuff. James was even mentioning possibly planetary. I don't know. I know we're going to get back into it. Just stick with us. I just feel like we're out of phase, and it's okay and I'm going to just keep calling myself the bipolar astrophotographer because I'm bipolar. I still love astrophotography. I'm going to continue to do it. But right now, I've hit my 10 years celebration. Mom and I are going to Florida next month. My best friend's coming in a couple of weeks to stay here for about a week. I've got other stuff. We got new cameras I want to play with on my scooter. I want to build in The Sims. I want to work out. I want to take care of myself. Astrophotography will come back around. It's like the moon, right? It'll rise and set and then it'll rise again, and it's going to come back. I know it's going to come back. So just stick with us, stay with us. J.S. Wyman, I appreciate you being in on this chat to this evening. I apologize that you're the only one. I guess that's the price that we have to pay for a small channel, but I really do enjoy just kind of sitting down and talking about things that have been on my mind. That one about the mental breakdown, though, I still don't know that I'm cool with it. For like me, okay, here, let me tell you why. Before I end this, let me tell you why I have a problem with the term mental breakdown. Let me think of how to put this into words first. So, mental breakdown sounds like something that happens, and maybe this is just the way I interpret it. That's fine, whatever. You don't have to agree. We can totally disagree. That's not a problem. But just hear me out. A mental breakdown sounds to me like something that happens, but if it happens to you, you just pick yourself up and just move right along. It's like a car breaking down almost. It's like Okay, if your car breaks down, you get a flat tire, you get, somebody come out and help you change the tire and you leave. But that just wasn't like what I felt was like my situation. Because it wasn't like, for me, it wasn't just as easy as that. It wasn't as simple as, oh, I had a mental breakdown. Just grab me by the shoulder and lift me up and we'll walk off together. Like, that's just how I feel about it. And maybe I'm taking it too literally. But for me, when I say like I had a mental health crisis, it's like any day that could happen again. That's something that could happen again. Like, it's not something that just happened and I picked myself up and I moved along like so easily and simply about. Wait a minute. Wait, the way I'm describing it sounds like a definition from someone who has never experienced mental issues. Is that what you're saying? Am I understanding you right? And maybe that's why I don't like it, is because I think that's and that's what I was just going to add. It's like, I feel like that's how others view that phrase. And I really do. I think that you putting it that way helped me see that. It's like, I think that's how others view or interpret that phrase, a mental breakdown. Because it's so simplified. If you've never had, like you said, if you've never experienced it, it's almost oversimplifying it. Yes, please share the Google definition. Because that's what I did earlier, and I was going to do it. I was going to read it in this, and then I was on my phone. I was like, well, I don't think I can look it up while I'm doing a live. I want to know. Nervous breakdown describes a period of extreme mental or emotional stress that significantly impacts a person's ability to cope with daily life, though it's not a mental definition. Is that what you meant to say? It's not a formal mental definition. Gotcha. Yeah, I think that it's almost like, how everybody calls us like, oh, they're a narcissist. That word gets thrown around so much, it means nothing anymore, or even saying, oh, that's a cult, or that's culty. It just gets thrown around. So then it minimizes the real serious issues of narcissism and cults that are out there doing a lot of damage. Like, the words are so overused by people who have never experienced what it's like to actually know a narcissist or be in a cult. And so the words are overused. And so then it's like, oh, they become less meaningful, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, I felt that way about mental breakdown because I was thinking about what I had and I'm like, that's not it. That's not it. And J.S. Wyman, if you have a better way or a better term of putting out there, what is what you and I, what is that? It's not as simple as a breakdown. You don't know until you walk in their shoes. And I don't know. And like, I think with like, when it comes to, oh gosh, it's hard to explain, but like, because I felt like I've had my mind hijacked by mental illness, there's a part of me that has this huge and enormous amount of empathy for people leaving cults, like actual cults, because it's like they were hijacked, right, by a brainwashing organization. And so I can respect that. But when people just start talking about this is a cult and this is a cult and this is a cult, it's just like, ugh, it just gets tossed around all over the place. And yeah, it is that thing of you can't understand until you walk. Okay, my favorite poem, and I've said it on here before because it's in my 4-part series of that little like short story I wrote when I was in the psych hospital, and I added it later. And it was I can't remember who said it, but it's, I walked a mile with pleasure, she chatted all the way, but left me none the wiser for all she had to say. I walked a mile with sorrow, and ne'er a word said she, but oh, the things I learned from her when sorrow walked with me. I love that poem. Love it. It's like, don't judge. And I feel like that whole, like, it's that blanketed statement of mental breakdown. Oh, they had a mental breakdown. And it's said so cavalier, it's like, oh, they had a mental breakdown. What? Oh my gosh, you might as well have just set my mind on fire. It was so traumatic for me. It wasn't simple. Judge is the key word. Yeah, don't judge others. It's so hard. Like, I just have so much respect. And J.S. Wyman, thank you so much for being in here, for sharing that you've had a bookmark. It's a blanket term for ignorant people. And because you've had that bookmark, I think you can see it. I think that you can see it similarly to how I can see it. It doesn't offend me, but it just doesn't describe it properly. It's like, that's not quite, it's close, but no cigar. It's just, I don't know why, but for some reason today, I woke up after not sleeping very well. I woke up with it just on my mind, like mental breakdown. Why don't I like that phrase? What is my issue with that phrase? And so much of what we've talked about during this very intimate live. Thanks for being here, J.S. Wyman. Appreciate ya. I think that you and we've just solved all the world's problems in the last 36 minutes, haven't we? But it's a blanketed term for people who can't even begin to understand. And it's like, be careful what you say, be careful how you treat it. Because if you normalize it, nobody's going to get the kind of help that they need. So, and that was another thing that I've mentioned in the past before too, I know that we are making strides in the mental health system. But when it's really broken, you only break those with mental issues more. And we got to do better. And I'm not saying to just like redefine the terms and this and that. I'm just saying to have these conversations, like, why does that 2-word phrase bug me? It just bugs me. It's not on par with what happened to me. Even though the definition on Google kind of says it right, it's like, it doesn't stress enough the importance of it when it happens to you. It's just it's a more significant experience than just a simple mental breakdown. It is an old term. That was another thing too, because I felt like I've heard the term mental breakdown forever, but I feel like it's still. Well, I was actually listening to a true crime podcaster this morning, and she said it. She's got like 1.2 million followers, and she said it. And she's like 36 years old. I don't remember. Oh, I remember her name, but I don't want to put it out there. But I just was kind of like, eesh. I just didn't feel it. I just didn't feel quite right about it. I think that was kind of what sparked me, like really doing like a deep dive in my own mind about thinking about the term mental breakdown and why I don't feel like it's. I'm trying to think of what it would be good for describing. Like, what would the term mental breakdown be good to describe? I mean, it seems like it would describe something of lighter weight a little bit. We do still need a lot of work in this, and we need to be putting out, this is why I started talking about this on YouTube, in part, was just to have these conversations about it. Like, even if it's just talking about a term, mental breakdown, a phrase, even if it's as small or as silly as that, it's worth having these conversations, and it's worth putting them out there. And if nobody sees them besides you and I, then that's fine too. Like, we've had this conversation. These are the kind of conversations, oh my gosh. Well, I have these with my husband, but I also have them with my best friend who's coming to visit. And I just love these kind of like round table conversations. Well, this isn't such a round table, but just kind of these sitting across from one another, chatting a little bit about why is this way? And why do we think that way? And we do have a long way to go. And I think we also have a long way to go still on misdiagnosis. I think misdiagnosis is happening in more ways than we are willing to admit to as a society. And so until those things start coming out, I'm not going to talk about it on my channel. But I observe, and I have seen a lot of people being misdiagnosed in really horrific ways now. I feel like it's becoming more and more prevalent and in really sad ways, unfortunately. What, you think that big pharma? No, I don't think it's pharma. I think it's money, but I don't think it's pharma. I really don't, because these people actually aren't being given, they're well, they're letting their patients self-diagnose. This is how I see it. They're letting their patients self-diagnose, and instead of going and having really strong therapies to offer, they are catering in extreme ways that don't include mental health medications. I'm talking surgeries. They're going about it in extreme ways. And it's just happening younger and younger and younger too. So I think it's a lot. Like, I think that there's some bad things happening that in the next 10 years we will, as a society, yeah, it's coming from another direction, right? Like, I feel it's very dangerous. It's a very poor example for the younger generation to be pandering, as medical professionals, to be pandering to what a patient, how should I say it? Patient thinks is right for them, but maybe they really don't know that that's right for them. Like, it's hard to explain without going really into the nitty gritty, and I don't want to get into it on here, but that's how I feel about it. You know, I may be kind of an odd man out. I don't particularly care. I've never really fit in, so that's fine too. Desires. Absolutely right. I think you know, wink, wink, a little bit about what I'm talking about, J.S. Wyman. So, well, I'm going to call it, because I've been going for almost 45 minutes. And what time? I can't, my chair. I could look at my watch on my wrist. I'm telling you. Or my phone. Why am I going for the kitchen clock? I'm telling you, man. Sometimes my head just doesn't do the smartest of things. At least it's mild. At least it's in mild ways. It's just getting worse with age too. Can you see that the light has changed? Like, I started out all light and bright. Now it's getting all dim. It's kind of funny. Well, yeah, old habits. Well, and it doesn't help that I grew up in this house, right? So it was always, you look at the stove, you look at the microwave, they're right there. Like, this is where back before I had a phone in my pocket all the time or a watch on my wrist all the time, that's what I would do. They die hard, man. They die hard. Well, J.S. Wyman, if you're ever up to doing like interview style, I could invite you on as a guest, and we could actually do a face-to-face, and we could have some conversations like this. Don't feel obligated. It's just a funny idea, since it just ended up being you and I here for the last, it just ended up being you and I here for the last 45 minutes. So if it's something you want to do, if you want to try and do that sometime, shoot me an email at thebipolarastrophotographer@gmail.com, and we'll try to set that up, because I think that might be kind of a cool way to engage and get more of a message out there for, how we feel about, and we can have these conversations in a respectful and adult way. Like, I want to know what you think, and I want to know if what I'm thinking makes sense, And I am willing and open to change the way I'm thinking. Because, you know, like, who wants to live a life so rigid where you can't, you know, be open-minded about other people's ideals and experiences? And that's a good way to engage on here for sure. So thanks so much for being here, JS Wyman. We'll try to do a face-to-face sometime on here. And have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I am going to go work out. Oh, Nate. Oh, Nate. Well, I should be giving more notice on these, but it's just kind of like I was telling JS Wyman that I wanted to just, you know, like go live because I want to go work out after this. And so it's kind of, and I don't want to get on here after I work out because I'm all sweaty and a mess and all of that. Blah, 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 blah. So now I feel bad because 45 minutes in. But yes, check your notification bell and maybe I can schedule. How, you guys tell me, if I did a scheduled one of these lives, how much notice would you want? Would you want half hour, a day? What would you want? What would be good for you? MJ Sweeps, oh, I know who that is. All is well here. We've been I was just explaining, it's a long, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but I was explaining on here, we're just out of phase with deep space shooting right now, but I think with summer coming back, we'll get more into it. And it's been super cloudy and now the moon's big. So we're don't go anywhere because we're going to get back to it. It is just kind of like a, you know, the moon has set temporarily, but it will rise again kind of deal. But let me know, you know, whether it's in the chat or the replay crew or whoever comes in here, let me know how much notice would you like for me to go live? Like, because I'd be fine with 10 minutes. But I don't know if that's enough time. Like, would you prefer 24 hours might be a little bit tricky because things can come up, right? And like, I might have to run out the door. Like, I don't know. An hour or so would be helpful. Okay, good. Let's try to do that. Next time that I do a live, I'm going to schedule it for an hour out. And we're going to see how that improves as far as more engagement in here. Because 1 hour would be good. 1 hour would be good. Okay, let's plan on 1 to 2 hours. How's that sound? We'll do a 1 to 2 hour advance. And then that way, you know, I'm pretty well settled. Like it's just the 24 hour. I see a lot of the people that I find, and they're like 24 hours. I'm like, how do you, I guess I'm just too free spirited for that. Like, I got to be able to, like, you know, go out on a dime. I don't know. That's just me. Perfect. 1 hour. Excellent. We'll do that. Let's say, keep an eye on you guys' notifications this week. Let's try to shoot for an hour. What is the date? I don't have, well, my phone's here. Let's do maybe an hour on Friday night. Let's just try to do, well, not an hour, but let's do a live with an hour scheduled ahead time on this coming Friday night. And if something changes, I will post it in the community post. Sound good? Does that work? Another thing I was thinking about doing on here, since I started this channel kind of after, you know, we did some deep space stuff, but then we kind of got out of it. I thought another thing I might do is do a StreamYard live. And because I can share images and stuff on there, we could do a StreamYard live and I could share some of my very favorite astrophotography pictures that we've taken over the years, over the last, well, now it's about 8-9 years. And I could share those on here and we could just talk about some of that. And it might kind of get me kind of like revved back up to get back into it. So yeah, okay. So this week I'm going to try to put that together. I will have that as an agenda item that I'm going to get my very favorite deep space pictures that we've ever taken all in one place on my computer, and we will do a StreamYard live and we will go over. Now in StreamYard, the quality is not going to look quite as good as it would like say look on my phone, but I don't know, like I said, I'm not sure how to, we're just going to have to make do with what we have. But let's do that. Let's try to go through some deep space stuff, and let's also talk about how we're all doing, how life has been going, because it's definitely a ride, right? And it's not always thrilling. So, but all right, guys, so great to see everybody here kind of towards the end. I'm so glad that you could be here. And JS Wyman, you in particular, thank you so much for engaging with me this entire time. This would have been a very one-sided conversation, and I appreciated having another perspective. Guys, Nate, MJ Sweets, I'm so sorry that it didn't work out. You have a great night too, MJ Sweeps. I will catch you on the next one, and I will do a scheduled live next time. We will make it happen. I will figure that out this week. So it is a plan. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your weekend. Keep looking up. And as always, remember, self-care is not selfish.